Howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Yeah, Playhouse, that's the name. Listen, got a special kind of video here for you tonight. I know it's been almost a week since I put a video out, and that is because I have been very, very busy. I started my business back in 07. It is now 2018, so I've been officially in business 11 years come April, February, March, or April, somewhere around there is when I started my business. And the client that I'm going to be talking about today is the first client I ever had on my own, and they've been a client of mine for 11 years. So hopefully that says something about my integrity and my performance. But not to toot my own horn. The reason we're here tonight is because of that client. That client has got some pretty old PCs in use. They were all running Windows 7 and were updated to Windows 10, but a lot of them are 32-bit machines. A lot of them, well, most of them are D945G motherboards from Intel. They're 10, 11 years old. They've only got 2 gig of RAM, and they've got, you know, slow old spinning hard drives, but they keep on chugging along. Well, the problem is that Microsoft is going to stop supporting those machines here very shortly. Within the next year or so, there are going to be some updates that you're not going to be able to do on these older computers. And I think up to this point, it's one of the very few times I'll sing Microsoft's praises, but generally they're pretty backwards compatible for the most part. I mean, they're not like Apple where they phase them out every 5 or 6 years, you know. But it's been a long time since these machines have been updated. Now, this client has been updating them 1 at a time, 2 at a time, 3 at a time. But with the current cost of RAM, SSD drives, and video cards, you know, even an entry-level machine for what this client needs is, you know, they're looking at $500 to $800 a machine, not including a monitor. And it's just not, you know, we're looking at $5,000 to $8,000 to spend this year on computers. And so my client and I got to thinking, and we thought maybe there's a better way to do this. Now, 4 or 5 years ago, I was real gung-ho on virtualization. I still am, and virtualization has its place. You know, early during when virtualization first came out, the whole idea was to virtualize your workstations and have everybody, all the IT managed in one central server, and then dumb terminals everywhere. I don't know if you're aware of this, but when computers first came out, the terminals that were attached to them were called dumb terminals. I'm speaking in quotations. Someone help me, for God's sakes, please. They were called dumb terminals. They were basically just, you know, like dial-up terminals. They had serial cables. They talked at about 4800, 24 to 4800 baud. That's bits per second. So we've kind of come full circle. But I just didn't really see where the advantage was for most clients using virtualization for their workstations. And instead I saw it as an opportunity to reduce the number of servers in the data center and virtualize them, or task-specific machines, you know, like Exchange servers or a SQL server or something like that. They all just scream out virtualize me, you know, so you don't have all these boxes sitting around your data center, you know, running separate little programs that you need to keep your network running. But with that being said, with the cost of machines and peripherals where they are now, it kind of makes sense. For example, if I get a used, you know, enterprise level server off of eBay for $200 or $300, and it's got dual quad or octa-core processors, or it's got quad core processor, and it's got 32 gig of RAM, all I really have to do with that server is throw some really fast enterprise level SSD drives in there, and I could virtualize between, you know, 15 to 25 machines on one of those boxes. For most of the users on this network I'm talking about with these 10 computers, most of these people are just running Word, Excel, PowerPoint. They're on the websites, but they're not streaming audio and video. And then there are a few you know, programs that they use that were built in-house. So they're not real power users, and they are perfect for virtualization. So and then we could take their old machines and just you know, put some dumb terminal or thin client software on there. They wouldn't even need an operating system per se. So then that'll consolidate all those 10 clients or 15 or however many we decide to put on that server into one location. Now that is a single point of failure, but you know, it's easy enough to have backups of those virtual machines, and you can spool them up on another server if an emergency would happen. It's very rare I ever have a server completely fail. I don't think it's, in fact, I don't think it's ever happened to me where I've had a server go down and fail on me. And I tend to keep spare parts or spare servers on hand just in case of that. So that's what we're tasked with. So we're going to simulate this setup in my Windows lab, that Dell that I have set up for my Windows lab, so I can show you some of the ins and outs of it. And it'll be kind of like, it won't be a tutorial, but it'll be a soup to nuts where I show you what it is exactly that I'm testing, what it is I'm going to present to the client, and then if they sign off on it, they've already indicated that they're real receptive to that. If they sign off on it, then I'll let you know. Because we could spend probably on a used server and some enterprise level SSD drives under $1,000. That's much more economical than spending $5,000 to $8,000. So another benefit, they don't have to outlay the cash all of a sudden. The other option is they could lease from Dell. You know, Dell has really attractive leasing. But I have a customer who's getting out of a 2-year lease now, and even after a 2-year lease, the machines are still going to run them about $800 a piece. So they're not saving a bunch of money. The only benefit of leasing in a business is you can write that off, that expense off every month. So it you know, it's that much you have to pay, less you have to pay taxes on. So now I need your help on something. I'm not the smartest person on the planet. I mean, I know what I know, but I have this thing now that I'm in my 50s that anytime I learn something new in this ear, something I learned previously falls out of this ear. So I have to be real careful with what I choose to fill my head with. So, and the other thing I'm having trouble with is finding a good utility that will keep an eye on these SSD drives. I know about overcommitting the drives, and I've already, I believe the H700 controller took care of that. You notice it was bigger on the controller than it was when it got into Windows, and I partitioned those drives. So I think the drive is taking care of that automatically, over provisioning the drive. But I need a utility that will go out periodically and check those drives and make sure they're okay, just for my own sense of peace of mind. Now for the client, I'll be of course getting enterprise level drives, and I'll be putting them in a RAID 1 array so that they're mirrored. So in case one fails, the other one takes over. I really don't see the sense in mirroring SSD drives, but I want some level of failover, you know. If this were a it is kind of a mission critical server, but I will be doing regular backups of these machines, imaging of them. So you know, I'll have to decide that. And one more thing, I want to do a shout out to my friend Morten in Denmark. He's got a cold. He's not doing well. And I hope to God, I can't remember whether I sneezed inside of that 10 gigabit switch out of spite or if it was accidental. But I may have sent a virus across the ocean to my friend Morten at my playhouse. And for that I apologize. It wasn't intentional, Morten. Really, it wasn't. And I really do hope you get to feeling better really soon, so that I can see you put all that stuff that I sent you to work. But anyway, I digress. I just wanted to pick on Morten just a little bit. And if you get a chance, go out and check out Morten's site. It's My Playhouse on YouTube. He's the one who got me started with my channel here in the United States, and he's helped me grow it and given me some really good advice. So go out and check out Morten's videos. If you like mine, you're going to love his as well. So on that subject, let's start off with I'm using a program called Hard Disk Sentinel 5 Pro. You can look it up on Google, and it's out there. But anyway, so this tells me this is the SanDisk drive. This drive is a used one that Sasha sent me over from the UK. Thank you, Sasha, again. It was used. It's a 960 gig Ultra 2. It's been on 134 days, 6 hours. It has more than 1,000 days estimated remaining lifetime. So that's what, 3 years it's got left in it, 2 years, 2.5. The lifetime writes on it have been 3.09 terabyte. Now, on my spinning drives, you can see these drives have been up 20. This one has been up 2,206 days. It's got more than 100 days of estimated remaining lifetime, and it's had 4.79 terabytes written to it over the course of its lifetime. And then if we come here to information, a lot of people were concerned that Dell does not support the SSDs properly, but it does. Remember, I changed out that controller to a PERC H700. It does see the drive, it sees the firmware, it sees the serial number, it sees even the SSD controller. Not bad for an 11-year-old server, huh? And then it sees the serial ATA revision, it sees the transfer rates, it sees everything it should, and most importantly, it sees that this drive has trim support, etc., etc., dataset management supported, trim command. Now, the only thing that's not available is the operating system trim function. It is supported but disabled. So I'm going to have to look up on Server 2016 how to enable trim. It was my understanding that it was enabled by default, and it may not be an issue, but I just wanted you to see that. Let's go check the log. There's nothing in the log and no alerts. So for the time being, I'm going to depend on this hard disk Sentinel to keep an eye on this SSD drive, and we'll see how it does over time. Alright, so here we are on MCS Lab, and you notice one thing I wanted to tell you is that MCS Lab is part of the mcs.local domain, but MCS Lab itself has its own domain of mcslab.local. So figure that one out. Now, this is one of the benefits of using VLANs and that kind of thing. It allows you to separate them. So even though this server is a member server of my corporate domain, it can also host a lab domain or another domain, which is the beauty of virtualization. It allows you to really set up a lab where you can play around with this kind of stuff. So anyway, I digress. I'm going to bring up my domain controllers, both of them, for this lab, but I just wanted to show you one of the settings I changed. After you get your lab machine set up, your server or whatever, if it's not running SQL Server, if it's just out there as an Active Directory server, that kind of thing, I would strongly suggest you go ahead and turn on dynamic memory. And I'm sorry, I'm still trying to shake this coffee. Anyway, I digress. So what I want to do is right-click on this device and go to Settings, and you'll see under here, I've given it 2 virtual processors. And here's how I did the memory. I have it start up with 2 gig of RAM. And then I enable dynamic memory. So I give the minimum RAM, I give it as 512, and the maximum I give it as 496. Now this is in my lab environment. The reason I do that is because I only have 24 gig of RAM in this server. Oh, poor me, right? But I need to make sure I don't run out of RAM while I'm doing things. Now normally in a production environment, unless this was simply if this was just an Active Directory server and you had under, say, even 500 users, these settings actually will be fine if that's all that machine is doing. So just FYI, I've done that on both of these servers. So I'm going to go ahead and start each one of these domain controllers up, and you'll see initially they grab 2048 or let's just say 2 gig of RAM. But as the machine powers on and the Hyperv integration services kick in, you will see these memory stats change. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the secondary domain controller as well. Now keep in mind on my client, the only thing that this Dell server will be doing is serving workstations. There will be no servers running on it, but in my lab environment, this is what I do. Now you see the RAM has now dropped to 870 meg, and the memory demand is only 739 meg. So when people say that Windows Server with a GUI is a pig on resources, that's just horse hockey. And you can see that Hyperv is going to handle the RAM allocation very well as time goes on. And the other domain controller is now coming up, and you see it's also reported its memory demand. Now I do the same thing for the workstations once I get them set up. And this works well for me, but in a production environment, this will allow us to play with those settings and test it in a production environment. Now, before I get into the creating the virtual machines and showing you how I do them, I want to bring up a couple of virtual machines. I want to bring up a Windows 10. I want to bring that machine up, a Pro, and a Windows 7. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple little tests in those virtual machines to show you the kind of speed we're getting on them. But before we do that, let me show you the RAM settings on my Windows Pro machines. And you'll see they're virtually the same. I give them 2 gig of startup, and I allow them to have up to 4 gig of memory, and I give them 2 virtual processors. So we'll go ahead and start this one up. And then I'll show you my Windows 7. I only give it, I give it a startup of 2048, and then the maximum RAM I'll let it have is 2 gig of RAM. That should be fine. That's what these workstations that I'm replacing are running now, is 2 gig of RAM. And if the user does, if I notice that the RAM is not high enough for that user, I can always come in here and bump it up and give it, you know, up to 4 gig of RAM if I need to. But you're going to find that Windows 7 is pretty frugal with RAM, just like Windows 10 is, and Windows Server 2016. So I'm going to go ahead and start that one as well. And then once both of these virtual machines get up and running, we'll go into them just so I can give you a look, see what they're looking like. All right, the machines have been up now for a few minutes, so I'm not going to go in by their name, because being as this is on a different domain, my 2 DNS servers are not aware of one another. It's something I need to do in the future, is set up a split DNS, but that's a subject for another show. But what I can do is connect up to these via IP address. So if I come down here to the networking tab, it should tell me the IP address. So the first one that I want to connect to is 20.27. So I'm going to do that now, if I can get out of that window. And I'm using a domain administrative account on these machines just to make my life easier and make the demo go smoother. So you can see now we're connecting actually to 20.27. Now, the only thing I don't have on these virtual machines that I have on a physical machine is a good graphics card. And there are ways to get around that, but we're not going to cover that in this video. What I do have is sound. So you can hear it there. So it does pass the sound through. So just to let you know, this is a, let's see here, just give you an idea of the kind of speed of the hard drive. There we go. Let's go ahead and launch some apps on here. We'll go ahead and load Excel. Let's see here. We'll load, I can't load Outlook because I don't have an account set up, but we'll load PowerPoint. We'll load Publisher. And we'll load Word. Just to simulate a load on there. Alright, and then we'll go ahead and we'll minimize all these. Now, then the other thing I want to do is I want you to see the, let me switch over here to the other virtual machine, or to the Hyper-V machine, and you can see now the RAM is expanding because we have more applications. So you can see I've given it that 2 gig of startup. I've given it total it can go to a maximum amount of memory of 4096. So even with all those Windows apps running and the operating system Windows 10, it's still only demanding 1229 or 1.2 gig worth of RAM. So those people out there that tell you Windows 10 won't run on 2 gig of RAM, I know it will. It won't run extremely well, but it'll run. Now, what I want to do is go back to that virtual machine, and I want to bring up Google Chrome, and I want to show you something very interesting. We'll just bring up Chrome, and then we'll come back to this machine, and you can see the memory demand jumps up there quite quickly. It settles down about 1.8 gig, 1.5 gig. So our memory's okay. So you can see memory adapting as it goes along. Now, on the virtual machine, if we bring up Task Manager, the way the virtual RAM works is it thinks it has 2 gig of RAM because that's what it started up with. But as those requirements go up, we will see it go up here as well. So I just wanted to show you that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to YouTube, and I'm going to show you something that, and I've tested this. I've been testing this all day. Let's see. Let's go out and look at one of Lawrence Systems' videos. So I'll click on that now. I've got the audio muted, and I just want you to see. Okay, you can see some slight hesitation. In fact, it's interesting. Lawrence Systems, they went out and bought an older enterprise Dell R10. So, Morton, say what you will about IBM servers, but I don't see people buying them like they do Dells on the used market in the United States anyway. Now, the video is a little herky-jerky. It's actually at 720p. I could try to go to 1080p. Let's see what happens if I try to go to 1080p. It does it, but it's, you know, it's abysmal. I don't want to watch it. I don't have any trouble with 480p video either, for my eyes. But when they're doing technical videos and doing screenshots and that kind of thing, I prefer at least 720p so I can see the writing on the screen. But as you can see here, we've got what? Excel, PowerPoint, Publisher document, and Word all running. Yeah, granted, there's not a lot of data in there. We don't have Outlook running, and the video is a little herky-jerky, but here we go. The audio works.
Over 10 gigabit with ice
you can hear it.
And I'll put together a whole.
Anyway, he's turning this into a Zen server, and I found the article very informative. Lawrence is a great guy, so go over there and check them out if you get a chance. They have a really great channel. They really have a good, what's the word I'm looking for, mixture of kind of entertainment they do. And he runs his own business as well. He's a bit bigger than I am, though. But anyway, there you go. So let's switch over here to the Hyper-V machine and see what kind of RAM impact it's putting and what kind of CPU usage we're seeing. And the other thing I want to do is bring up the task manager on the Hyper-V machine so you can just get an idea of how the CPU usage and memory usage is going. That's one of the big reasons to use virtual memory, is so that they only take as much memory as they need. Now what I want to do is go out to this Windows 7 64. I'm going to leave that video running on the Windows 10 Pro machine. I want to go out to the Win 74 or Win 7 64-bit, and that IP is at, drumroll please, 29. So let me start up a session with 29. Now, I forgot how ugly Windows 7 was. And I'm talking as far as the text they chose and the fact that it's got really sharp edges on lines and that kind of thing. They really kind of softened that up in Windows 10. I'm going to go ahead and run Excel. We're going to go ahead and run, let's see here, PowerPoint. Now this is only a 2 gig machine. That's the most memory this will ever get. So we already got PowerPoint, so we need Publisher. And then we'll also load Word. Alright, so let me go back to the desktop here. And then we'll go back to the Hyper-V machine. And you can see I've still got, well, you can't see it. But we switch back here now to Hyper-V, and we can see that Ultimate Lab is, if we come on here to the memory, you can see the memory demand has gone up a bit, but it's not even close to the 2 gigabytes of memory we gave it. And Windows is still still have 15.6 gig of memory left, even with 2 domain controllers and 2 PCs, one of them streaming video running. Now, the next thing I want to do is start a video stream on that machine. So we'll go out and we'll run another YouTube video. Now here's the deal. None of my clients are going to have any of their employees running YouTube videos. So it's no big deal. Let's do another PowerEdge video. We'll let that run for 8 minutes. And you see how ugly the fonts are and how sharp the edges are. So again, this one's running at what? 720p. Okay, so we'll let that run. And this is back in 2016. This guy's got some really great videos. It's called Unix Plus Wholesale Distributor, another guy I watch. And he has got some used 10 gig switches if you're in the market for them. And they're about 100, 150 less than that 10 gig switch I sent to Morton. But they're very, very loud. They're very loud switches, and they, 10 gig draws a lot of power, so that's another reason I haven't gone to 10 gig. But I digress. Let's come back to the Hyper-V, and you can see now that the memory demand has gone up. It's given it 1.6 gig of memory. You can see the processors are being used quite a bit. That's good. So there we are. We got 2 VMs running. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start these other VMs just to show you that. And they all have the same configuration. 2 gig is startup RAM, up to 4 gig on these. I just want to get them running while we monitor things. And you can see now we've gone from 8 gig up to 13. So it's still using the memory judiciously. And what I'm going to do is let these machines come up, stabilize, and then we'll cut back to this screen and show you how it's utilizing resources. Alright, so these machines have been up about a minute now. So this is a Windows 10 Enterprise, and it's the same way. It's got 2 gig of startup memory. Maximum memory is 4 gig, and right now it's only using about 600 megabytes. And it's over provisioned it. It's giving it more memory than it needs right now, just in case. And then Windows 10 Pro Lab Unit 2, same way. 2 gig startup, 4 gig max. And that's because a lot of times at startup, you have a lot of times when you start up a Windows machine, you may have some programs starting in the background. So you want to make sure it's got enough RAM to start the machine and start those processes, and then tell Windows, okay, I only need this much RAM now. So that's another reason you give it an initial startup memory. Now, if you were installing these from scratch, as you will see we'll be doing later, you're going to see that I give them, I don't turn on the virtual or dynamic memory until after we have the machine set up. So, now let's go into this enterprise unit. I don't have any Office software on there, but it's at 20.26. I want to go to that one and just start another video streaming. So let me enter that in there. 192.168. This on the 20 subnet, and it's at 26. And we'll connect to it. Now hopefully this machine won't be in the middle of Windows Update. So we've got 2 servers up and running. We've got a total of 5 virtual machines up and running. 2 of them are streaming video. The login, fairly quick. Oh, I do have Office on here. I lied. So I'm going to go ahead and run Excel. And I'm going to run Word. And I'm going to start up PowerPoint. And let's see. Oh, it's remembering I was last logged on here. Publisher. And also PowerPoint. There we go. And then we'll minimize all those. And coming back and look at our utilization. So we're using 1.1 out of 1.7. Now, when we go to launch Google Chrome, should come up and our memory should jump up here shortly. It is pegging our CPU. Let's see what's running. WSA PPX. Okay, then Google Chrome should start being the pig. So you can see, even though we started this machine a couple of minutes ago, it's still stabilizing, getting its startup programs all running. That's one thing I hate about Windows 10. Just look at all this stuff back here running. Some of the services I know, but some of these services back here running are for their applications. And I'm in a corporate environment. I think Microsoft's making a big mistake on that end with Windows 10. I think they should have an Enterprise Edition for Windows 10 and a Pro version for Windows 10 that has all this crap stripped out of it, because it's pissing off a lot of IT people. But I digress. But we'll let it run, and you can see our memory requirements have come down. I'm going to go ahead and stream another video. You know, a lot of people ask me, especially family members, good God, why do I need all that equipment, you know, for my job? And I tell them, well, you know, things have to be tested, and you know, made sure they're working, and yeah, I'm going to skip an ad here. Hello, Walmart. You get some free advertisement on my channel. We'll start another video with Morton. So here's Morton. Let me make sure it's only doing 720p. It is. And this is the switch I sent him, or the virus package. Gotcha, Morton. And of course, he's sick now because never mind. But anyway, here's another machine. So let's go back to Windows Hyper-V, and we'll just see what kind of resources. And you can see the memory demand, the assigned memory. So now, according to everything I've read, dynamic RAM does not slow down machines, nor do dynamically expanding hard drives. They used to in the past, but Microsoft has perfected this technology, and it works really well. And this is one of the things I like about Hyper-V, is the way it handles memory. It does it really kind of ingeniously. Now, I know VMware will do it too, but it doesn't do it as well. And Zen Server, you know, forget it. I don't think it supports over subscription of memory. I may be wrong on that. But if any of you use Zen Server and I made an incorrect statement, I'm sure you will correct me. So here we got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I've only got 4 virtual machines plus 2 servers up and running. But it's handling the load very well. Our CPU utilization is good. And we're finally, after a year of having this server, are putting it to use. I mean, these servers are made to chug along all day like this, with, you know, 10s, 20s of virtual machines running on. This is what they were designed for. And I've never, ever really put this machine through a real stress test like I'm doing now. And wait till we create some more virtual machines, it'll be even more stressful. So I should have... Let's see, am I logged into all the virtual machines, and have I got streams running on them? No, I've only got it running on 3. So I'm not connected to Lab 2. So let's go ahead, connect me to Lab 2. That one is at .28. So we'll come out here and we'll load another one. Log in. Alright, so now we're logged in. I don't know if I have Office. Yes, I do. So we'll go ahead and load up some applications. I wish I'd have put shortcuts for all these, but I guess I could do it now, huh? Alright, send to... I'm sorry, I wanted to pin to the taskbar. Pin to the taskbar. Usually I don't do this for the administrative account because I don't use those apps as an administrator except when I'm testing, like I am now. So we'll go ahead and pin them all to the taskbar. That way I can run the applications with a click of a mouse button and not having to go through some menu system. Pretty quick, huh? Not bad for a virtual machine. I wouldn't know the difference if I was sitting in a local one. The only exception to that is, of course, the video is going to stutter. But what I'm trying to do is prove a point here that for most users, a virtual machine is going to work fine. And, you know, I don't know if you know this, but there are a lot of companies out there now that actually lease out virtual machines. You can pay by the month and lease out a virtual machine. So here's a 4th video, and you can see it's stuttering a little. And we'll let it play. All right, let's come back to our server and see how everything's doing. So we've gone from 20-odd% up to nearly 40%. We're using about half our available RAM. Ethernet's chugging along just fine. I'm looking at something down here. I can see all these videos playing, but you can't because they're on my taskbar on the other monitor. But I don't see any of the videos stopping. They're a little jittery, but they're not stopping. And they're all appear to be working fine. So it's handling the load quite well. So let's let this run for a little while. Alright, so it's been about 10 minutes, and you can see that our RAM is doing, our CPUs are getting utilized, our RAM is getting utilized, our Ethernet is getting utilized. This is the 1 gig, this is the 10 gig connection that we're not currently using right now. We only use that for moving virtual machines, which in fact we're going to test on not this video, but a video coming up, and see how much faster that moving virtual machines between two Hyper-V servers with SSD drives in them is. Oh, that's a cotton picking mouthful. Alright, so all the machines are still running. Everything seems stable. So let's go into each virtual machine now. Alright, and this one for some reason is just sitting and spooling. Alright, well I guess it finished with the video. And it's going to do another one. Yes, it is. Okay, well, I'm not really worried about that right now. What I'm going to do is I want to start shutting these machines down. But the first thing I want to do is stop the video playing on all of them. That's long enough. That's a good enough test. Let me go to this next one. I'm sorry, Morton. You see that bump on his hand? That's probably how the virus got into his system. I'm just going to be merciless with him, kidding him on that cold he got, because, you know, I don't know if you know, but right around January, right around Christmas, we got very ill in this house. We had that respiratory thing that's going around that then turned into a viral infection, that then turned into a pneumonia for my spouse, and then later the flu. So we had the run of sick people in our house. Okay, I think that's all the VMs that were running video. And so you see the CPU utilization has gone way down. Now it's not having to stream and encode those videos. So nice and stable. The RAM requirement has dropped down quite a bit. We were up here at what, 12 gig earlier. Or I'm sorry, 16, 15 or 16. Now it's down to 12. So you can see the Hyper-V is adjusting the RAM it's giving to machines based on what they need, and it's all seamless. Nothing is sluggish, nothing was slow other than the video, which we knew was going to happen in the first place. So there you have it. That's the end of part 1 of this series of videos. I'm trying to keep these videos a little bit shorter and breaking them into parts rather than doing an hour-long video. Now, I know some of you like those hour-long videos, and that's fine. But I just find maybe it's easier this way. That way I don't ramble through the videos, and every video is kind of a fresh perspective for me. So this is stage 1, proof of concept. We've proved now that we can run multiple virtual machines, that I'm pretty confident with the Hyper-V memory settings that we have in there, and that things are going to work well. Now what I need to do is spin up about 5 more Windows 10 and Windows 7 virtual machines, just to really load this server down and see how it's going to do with a real-world environment. And that's coming up in our next video. And yes, we still have videos coming up on FreePBX 14 and 3CX. I'm going to review that again. It's been almost a year since I reviewed it, and see if it's gotten any better, any worse, or how I feel about it. We've got an install coming at a client site with some surveillance camera. That ought to be an interesting video. And that client has agreed to let me film on their location. So we'll be bringing that video to you as well. So at the beginning of every month, what I'm going to do is those of you that are donating and contributing to keeping this channel alive and running and having new stuff to talk about, we're going to give those people a shout out every month at the beginning of the month. I'm not going to tell you what people donate. That's really nobody's business. But all of you that send out donations every month who are Patreon subscribers are going to get kind of a thank you at the end of my first video every month. So if I forget to do it, remind me about it. The other thing that we have coming up is the drawing for the Edge Router Lite. That'll be coming up in March, and I will let you know in one of the videos when that's going to happen. Those of you that donate and are so inclined, we have PayPal and Patreon, and your donations are greatly appreciated. Right now we're putting donations that we're getting toward the hard drive fund to get new hard drives for that Synology NAS. because I'm slowly replacing the 2 terabyte drives in there with 4 terabyte drives, and then moving those 2 terabyte drives down into my Exponology NAS. So earmark the money if you wanted to go for something else, otherwise it's going to go to that hard drive fund. Anyway, we hope you found the video entertaining and informative. As always, give us a thumbs up down below if you liked it. Leave your comments in the comments section. Remember, the best way to contact me is unclejoesplayhouse@gmail.com. Leave a comment on the YouTube channel. And we also have a Facebook page where we cross-post these videos. So, again, thanks so much for watching, and don't forget, we'll see you in part 2 on the other side.